Hey, let's just go. Let's just get started and have some fun. What do you say?
Sounds great.
All right, fantastic. Like I said, you just put your kids to bed, right? Now,
Yep.
do you have a regular nighttime routine? Now you have two boys, right?
Two boys. Yep.
Two boys. So do you have a nighttime routine where you go put one to bed, put the other to bed, or how does that work for you at night?
So my wife Jamie and I basically tag team, and we both get one boy.
Sure.
We do books, brush teeth, books, all that good stuff, and then kind of just chill. We usually lay with our boys for a little bit. Jamie's actually still in with our youngest, Vincent, um, kind of resting with him, snuggling up and all that stuff. And then once he's settled in, she'll come out, and then we'll be good to go for the night.
I gotcha. So how old are your boys now?
Uh, Vincent will be 4 in about a week on the
Okay.
8th, and Oliver's 6, going to be 7 in March.
All right. So Oliver must be what? He's first grade?
Yep, first grade.
There we go.
Yeah.
You guys doing the whole virtual school or half and half, or how's that going? The hybrid?
We started full time with him in
Oh,
class 5 days a week.
okay.
We recently just got shut down for 2 weeks due to some positive COVID results,
Sure.
but they're hopeful that October 12th he'll be back in session.
That's just going to happen right now. So whatever. That's just the
Right?
way it's going to go here.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
now, do you guys actually find a lot between you and Jamie? Do you guys actually find a lot of like husband and wife time where it's just the two of you, or is that pretty much post 8:30 p.m.?
Most of it's post 8:30 p.m.
Okay.
But we find times throughout the day where we, within passing, at least, at the very least, kind of thing.
I mean, sure,
Um,
I get that. Right. Absolutely. I mean, that's where is Jamie a night owl too?
no.
So by 10 p.m. she's in bed.
By 10 p.m., yeah. Well, she'll be up late reading her books and stuff.
Sure.
But like, uh, if I get on a project, I'll go into the 1, 2 in the morning working
Right.
on stuff.
I gotcha.
Whereas she's kind of like brain shut off, body calmed down, kind of vegetative state kind of mode for her. So we may both stay up late, but our mentality is completely different.
So like while she's reading, you generally are doing what then during that time?
Well, take for tonight, instance, I had a leaking toilet and I had to rip up the tile
Mhm. Oh,
and redo the flooring, put the tile back down to reset the toilet and get all the rotten wood and everything out of the subfloor. And
I gotcha.
so I have the grout laid tonight. So after we're done here, I'm probably going to go clean up the grout lines and see what I need to kind of finish that off and then prep it for the next couple of days to get the toilet installed.
Are
So,
you are you that handy of a person? Like, are you pretty handy
um,
around the house where you can get a lot of stuff done? I envy people like you because I've changed some toilets, but I didn't have to like rip up any tile or anything like that. So
oh yeah, no, I've laid tile flooring. I don't do carpet, but no, thanks YouTube. Let's put it that way.
I mean,
Uh,
don't get me wrong, YouTube's has done me some good, but there's a fine line when it comes down to things like I'm probably going to cost me more money doing it myself because of how much I'm going to screw up.
well, it doesn't hurt to have some people in your back pocket that you can rely upon to call
Amen.
for
That's
some, hey,
absolutely
what if I did this situation? How do I
sure.
fix this kind of thing? And then, pop on some YouTube videos. Most of it's been trial and error for me, and just the components that I stem from um, do-it-yourself mentality versus paying some other guy to do it,
Sure.
kind of thing. But that's the exception to that rule is when does that cost benefit outweigh one another? And for me to do tiling, it's something that I learned how to do, and I can do it cost effectively on my own.
Sure.
Whereas there's other things like carpeting where I've looked at a person laying carpet and there's a lot of tools required for that and it's a specialty thing.
Sure.
And I'm better off floating the guy the money and hey, come carpet this room kind of thing. So
Oh, I,
I
I
prefer
get that. We just recently got some hardwood floors or some not hardwood, like the what do you call it? The
the is it
lam not
Virgo
laminate,
or something? Yeah,
fake
it's
flooring.
fake
whatever it
flooring,
was.
but super sturdy and
Yeah,
looks really
but
nice.
so we just had somebody come in and put in for us, just mostly, and we decided we went back and forth of like, should we do this ourselves? Should we do whatever? We chose to let someone else do it because it was a time issue, and
Yep.
it took them 2 days, 3 guys, 2 days to finish it, and at the end of day one, we were able to come home. They left and we went to bed or whatever like that. We were just looking at all of their tools that they
Mhm.
had there to do it. I'm like, I never could have done this. Plain and simple, like this just never would have happened, not at all. And so that was a good call on our part, just being like, you know what, I'll pay the extra money, I'll let you do it there. For those of you who can do those things, kudos to you, man. That is fantastic for sure.
Well, I will put in perspective. I did pick up 2 or 3 more tools on this job, so
I mean, hey, you know what, picking up a few extra tools from time to time is not a bad thing
you
too.
know they come in handy.
You know, that's every once in a while. You might only use it once every 2 or 3 years, but when you need it, you're like, I got it. It's
Got
going
it.
to be good.
Yep.
It's going to be good for sure.
Yeah.
So now I know that you grew up around this area, right? You grew up in Osseo?
Yep. Osseo.
In Osseo. Okay. How long did you, like, so pretty much you graduate high school and then did you immediately go up to UWS after that?
Yep. Yep. I graduated from Osseo Fairchild High School in 1999, and yep. That after that summer break, I was up UW Superior, starting freshman semester.
Now, were you up there for 4 years or 5 years?
I did the 5-year plan.
Okay, that's fair. Hey, I that's fair. I'm not one to judge that at all. But you were there, you had a good time when you
Yeah.
were there. But this is where now you went up there specifically. I mean, obviously the school is big, but you were part of their cross country team and track team. Did you do both track and cross country, or was it just strictly cross country?
Yeah. So I went up for the biology department component of
Okay,
the university.
sure.
The cross country and track and field coach at the time recruited me ultimately for pole vaulting.
Oh,
Originally
okay.
was the plan. Now I redshirted cross country my freshman year, but ran with the team, and then I competed in track and field my freshman year.
I got you.
And then, but yeah, so then I did cross country all 5 years. Track and field I did 2 years.
So now, how long, like, so you were running obviously in high school, like
Mm-hmm.
pre-high school, junior high, middle school, any of that kind of stuff. Like, how far back can you go? Think about, like, when did you start running for at least enjoyment?
So the first day I started running was 7th grade, junior high. My brother, who was 1 year in front of me in school, chose cross country for his sport. I was originally going to do like all my other buddies and let's go play football, even though I had really I wasn't like strong sports background
Sure.
from my family. We grew up in the country, we played in the sticks, kind of stuff. And so I ultimately chose what my brother did and went the cross country route. And so 7th grade was my first day of running, really. Like I ran around our property before that, but that was when I really first started running. It was 7th grade, junior high, and immediately caught the bug and never went away. So I think I was around 13 probably when that happened.
So what age did you hit your peak of running? Like the best running that you've ever did?
Um, would have been probably at the college level, my 5th year
Your
of
fifth year?
my collegiate running. Yep.
I was waiting for you to be like, I haven't hit it yet. I'm still working on that. We're just getting better as I age. I was
Uh,
waiting for some answer like that.
well, that's the second component to that. Since you did back it up with that statement, that was when I had my peak performance at the collegiate level,
Sure.
which I've now learned over the years because I'll be 40 this March.
Yep.
So that was getting to be a while ago. Is that was a specifically trained time of my career for a purpose and at a really high level. And so I was running really solid times.
Sure.
But as far as my peaking running wise, I'm at a different level now. And so no, I don't think I've really truly peaked. I think I've just each year, each decade, as my body's matured, and because I thankfully, luckily, have had minimal health issues, I haven't had any major knee constraints, stuff like that, where a lot of guys, by the end of their college career, their knees have pretty much given out on them and stuff. So
Sure.
now with me switching gears later in life from that shorter distance into the ultras, now my body's kind of turned to another level where now it's like, okay, what can I do to push this next level? And when can I peak and really, hit something solid with that? So, and to
So,
answer your question there, I'm not even there yet, I don't think.
and that's fair, but this is where like I look at that almost like pitching in baseball. You
Uh,
get these young guys that are just power pitchers throwing 100 miles an hour, and they're able to do that, but then eventually age starts kicking on them and they're not able to throw as hard. And now they have to actually learn how to pitch. They can be a finesse pitcher. And then
yeah.
they have to learn how to maneuver the ball around and more breaking balls and all this other kind of stuff that goes along with that. But it's the same thing with running. Like, you're 22 years old, you're able to just power through a
Mm-hmm.
whole bunch of stuff. You can shut your brain off and you can just go, go, go. Where now it's just kind of like, how to work the body, how to work the different systems to be able to get that same result, but just in a different fashion, probably a little easier on the body, more or less at
Mm-hmm.
this point in time then too. And that's fair. But this is where I find it interesting because now you ran a 100 miler, what was it, a year and a half ago?
About a year and a half, yeah.
Year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And there's a quote that I have written down here, and tell me if it's true or not, but this is where it says, the longer you run, the more comfortable you have to be with your demons.
Absolutely.
Is that a true thing? Now, I agree with that purely because I've trained for just marathons and stuff like that. And if you're on, if even just a training run for 3 hours, you're gonna hit some dirty spots in there. Your brain just wanders into all these different
Yep.
places. And so, like when you're young, at this competitive level and stuff like that, did you concern yourself with any of those things at all, like demons or anything that you had to deal with at that young age, or is that something that you more or less, like the older you got, that you tended to see more of?
I think it's a different version of demons
Sure.
because I battle them like at my collegiate career. There's a version of like what you consider demons, but at that it was um, like especially towards the end of my running career there because I was pushing my level so much. Um, when I got on the bus before I got to the start of the race, every race that year, I had to mentally really put myself in a different world because of the uh, pains and achiness and everything that my body was going through
Sure.
because I was constantly pushing it. And so at the start of that race, I did everything in my mental capacity to push all of that away to where I wasn't even thinking about it and there was no pain. I ran the race and then I would pass out on the bus ride home from exhaustion because at that point, then I can mentally allow myself to be like, you know what? Now it hurts.
No, sure. If you
Yeah.
can shut out all of that pain that
Yeah.
you physically have to go through. Now, generally you're doing competitions. What is that, 3 to 5 miles or something like that?
At the collegiate level, it was six, just shy of six or five, around five.
So, okay, so 5 to 6 miles, whatever that is
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
But this is where, I mean, you're running what, 5.5 minute miles at that point in time, if
Yeah.
not
5.5, six, six and a half,
five and a
somewhere
half,
in there.
six in there.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can run 6 miles in 30 minutes, give or take a little bit there. Yeah, you're that. I don't know if you have time for the demons to get into your brain at
Right.
that point in time because the pain is screaming at you. Because if you're
Yep.
going in with an injury at ankle, knee, I remember reading this book once where they talked about a high level runner. All of a sudden he's getting ready in the morning. He's going to go out for a 10-mile jog or something like that. And before he puts his shoes on, he stubs his toe. Right. So the guy just kind of like blows it off there, but all of a sudden he puts his shoes on, goes for a run, comes back, and he realized inside of that run he hurt his knee because the toe injury
Mm-hmm.
made him run differently because it was making everything all funky and stuff like that. So then it brought in the knee injury because his gait was different at that point in time. Have you ever felt anything like that where all of a sudden you had a certain injury and you got done with a long run? You're like, why does this hurt now?
Yes. And over my years, I've learned and know that why that is.
Sure.
And so whenever I go on runs, especially now in my what I call my wiser, more wisdom-based runs, is
Yes.
I will cut the run short for just and run home or call it because I know that if I keep pushing that, I am going to potentially cause more damage or just be injured or not injured, but there's going to be components that wow that hurts more. Why does that hurt more? So yeah,
Right.
no, I've definitely experienced that. I've done it enough times to know that especially when it comes to training runs, it's not worth it. So I just simply like, you know what, we'll cut this short and kind of go from there.
Now, was your wife was a runner too back in the day, wasn't she?
So she did sprinting back in high school.
Okay.
When we met, we came together. We were both doing triathlons at the time, kind of sprint and Olympic-based triathlons.
Okay.
So we were both kind of training for that world, and that's kind of where we kind of really connected
Sure.
on a number of other fronts too, and kind of stuff. And then her latching onto my desire to do this trail running ultra stuff. She's also done a couple of the relays for some of our teams.
Sure.
And stuff. So, but her level and her desire is in kind of that the fun category and to stay in shape. And
that's fair.
Even she looks at me and with those crazy eyes of the stuff I pull off. So.
Oh, don't get me wrong. My wife looks at me and like, what are you doing this time? Like, seriously. But this is where you can't have two big ultra marathon runners at the same time training for something, the same thing, and then two small children. It would make life a lot more difficult to try to manage something like that. So your balance sounds like that actually works out really well, where you both can get a little bit of what you want out of there and still have good time with the family.
Yeah, it helps. So the last couple of years when we did the relays and I was training for the 100-mile last year, she did one leg of the relay team. Because of our both wanting to fulfill goals, we made it work. We looked at our schedules. We didn't maybe get as many runs in as we wanted to.
Sure.
Or trained as best as we could have, but the goal for me especially, has always been when I start a race to finish it. You know, it might be a good finish, might be a bad finish, but if I cross that finish line, you know, then it's always a victory.
That's fair. I mean, don't get me wrong. You said before, you're not an early morning trainer. You're not that early morning running. There was many times. Now, I still to this day, because I've gotten so used to it. Like if I'm going to go for, let's say, a 10-mile run on a Saturday morning, like I'm leaving my house at 4 a.m. because I need to be able to get out, do my run, get back home before Erin has to go to work herself. Now it's better now because the kids are a little older and stuff like that. But a couple of years ago when I was training for my marathons and stuff, Bo was really young and I didn't want to put that on Laura. So, I remember I had to do this 15-mile run. I was up at 2, I was out the door by 3 in the morning. It was just like, this is what you have to do. This is the sacrifice for the love of it. And like I said, we talked before, like we're different kind of runners. You know, I love to run, but I'm also 190 pounds. Right. So like that doesn't really work well for me with speed or anything like that. But I have distance. I have endurance where I can blow off 10 miles without really worrying about it. But I'm also running at like an 8.5-minute mile, something like that too, where you're at a comfortable 7 right now?
No, I've slowed down.
You slow down to your little calmer runs now?
Yeah. I can still bust out some decent mileage speed if I need to, but
sure.
When I switched to the ultras, my whole gait, the whole physical part of my body, everything, I really kind of dialed it back, and so I could better prepare myself for the longevity, and then because I knew with the amount of years and running miles under my legs, the speed component, I wasn't worried about losing that. That's something that just comes naturally to me.
Oh, sure.
Over my years. There's more the capability to mentally and physically push that next level and that next limit. You know, marathon's one thing. It's funny, I've actually only ran one marathon in my entire running career.
Really?
Yeah. It was the Whistle Stop.
Sure, I've ran that one before.
Yep, and I had every goal set that I wanted to go out and run the marathon and get my Boston qualifier time and go run the Boston Marathon. But, you know, life went by, things happened, and training never got me there. And I got into a running club in the Madison area, the Hashing Club.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bunch of older ultra guys and gals there that I connected with. And I got to talk to them about the ultras, and I switched gears at that point, and I left the marathons and the speed behind me, focusing on, you know, how far can I run, kind of thing. And so that's where I lost a little speed because of that.
But I mean, you're on the trails and stuff like that, absolutely. But this is where is that your primary running right now is on trails and everything now, or do you still do some road running?
I mean, I do road. around my house here and everything, and
Sure.
wherever I can run, I'll do roads. But there's some nice state parks and some trails within 30 minutes of my property or home
Sure.
here. So if I can be on those, that's ideal. But I'll run anywhere. But as far as my focal point, mostly races now is trail running and as much training on the trails as I can get. The Wild Duluth 100K, I learned a lot from that one when my knee gave out.
Yes.
And the 100-miler, I didn't hit my mileage for training wise necessary as the person probably should have for the 100-mile distance. But what I did is I did 90+% of all trail running on trails as opposed to road running, and so
I got
that
you.
gave me the strength. I think I actually talked to you about that a while back.
I do. I remember that. Yes.
Yeah.
But that's where now, so with your boys and stuff like that, do they see you out running much or doing a lot of things in the yard, coming back from a run and outside, maybe playing when you're finishing up and get excited? Maybe like hey, I want to run down to the end of the block with you and then run back or any of that kind of stuff. Like, how do you get your boys involved with some of the stuff that you and Jamie like to do?
It takes nothing at all. They see us doing it, they want to do it.
That's fair.
Oliver's actually already ran 3 little kid races now.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and he's done awesome on all of them. Like he's ran the whole way, and he's enjoyed it. And we didn't push it. I wanted him to decide if he wanted to do it.
Sure.
And then I also didn't want to push until he was at least over the age 5, because at least and still minimal. Just these little kid races isn't too bad. But I don't want him to. Over my years of running, I've ran across too many guys and gals that push too early, that the longevity of their running career, it cost them. So I'm not going to push my boy at age 5 to go bust out
No, that's where you're all of a sudden you're just like, you get him to go play soccer. You're just sitting there, all you're doing is running the whole time while you're playing soccer anyway. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. We have, as parents, I think we have a tendency of like guiding our children towards our interests because they're our genes. There's a purpose that you should enjoy some of the things that I enjoy, at least a little bit, hopefully somewhere in there. So that's where, like, for me, I got Bo playing some t-ball and all that other kind of stuff. And there might be a day where he looks at me and is like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. And okay, great. But at least we tried. Like I'm open in anything.
Yeah, Oliver's big into soccer right now.
That's
I picked
wonderful.
him up some soccer cleats. I picked up an old soccer net. They were given away free on the side of the road, and we kind of kicked that around a little bit. And taught him some stuff, and he talks a lot about soccer. Sadly, with the COVID stuff this summer, we couldn't get him into any like programs.
Sure,
but
right.
Hopeful for next summer. He's going to know about. And yeah, same concept. Is like, if you like it, you want to try it, go try it. If you hate it, don't want to do it, fine. Move on to the next thing. Whatever you want to do.
That's one of those things. The only thing I've ever told either of my children is that, like, we're going to do this and you're going to finish it. Whatever season that we're doing, whatever it is, we're going to finish that season. And if after that and the next year comes around, you don't want to do it, great. Just like that. Like, great. But now, like, if you don't want to do that, let's find something else now to fill that void.
Yeah.
You're going to be doing something. You got to find something for sure. That's exactly it. All right, Matt. So I got a little fun thing here. So you ran your 100-miler that you completed there. Was it the Kettle Moraine 100-miler endurance race?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. And that was and you wrote a memoir to that.
I did.
You did. I have that memoir right here.
There's 8 pages.
There is all 8 pages right here. So we're going to read through a few highlights through this here. I just want to get some more information now. And I'll refresh some things that go through all of this here, but it's just the heading itself, which made me giggle right off the bat when I was reading that today. So I'm gonna read that to you. So it's the recollection of the events that took place in my first 100-mile endurance race, the best my mind could recall, as told by the idiot who ran it. Do you still feel like that was a mistake?
No.
Okay, good. That was a fantastic answer, because it's not.
No, the only mistake I would say was the horrible training program.
So the preparation, like you reflect back on it, you know that you technically weren't prepared to do this.
I shouldn't have finished that race.
Right. I mean, skinnier teeth you did,
Yeah.
but the skinnier teeth you did by like, I know we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll
It
get
was like, we'll get there. But all right. So going through there. So like you had a small crew of people, right?
Yep.
How many people did you have? Do you remember?
I had Dave, Annette, Clinton were my three primaries, and then we picked up some stragglers along the way, and then my wife Jamie
Okay.
when she wasn't running her leg of her relay race.
Okay. Now, do you had, and then some of these people actually were pacers for you while you were running,
Yep. Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
Clint and Annette were my two pacers. Dave originally was going to help pace me as well, but Dave was one of the older ultra guys that I kind of tied in with.
Okay. All right.
He kind of really got me started. Basically, he's my coach. Let's just put it safe. He's my coach.
Fair enough. That's good.
And he has been coming off some Achilles issues, and so he felt that he would be more of a hinder from a pacer standpoint than
Okay.
positive. So he pulled off of that and just stick as the crew component, and then Clinton and that jumped into the pacing.
I got you. All right. So as I'm reading through here, it sounded like you were very upset about the banana situation.
Oh, immensely.
They're just, you couldn't find bananas anywhere.
No, for like the first 9-10 miles.
Like how is this? This is a race. This is a 100-miler. The bananas should be about every 20 feet. Just go, grab and go.
That's what I said. I literally gave 6 bananas to Clint at one, and he's like, "Well, you just want me to hold it?" I'm like, "Yeah, until the next aid station."
Just shove them in your pockets if you can find them. You're gonna be going forever. It's great.
Yeah.
So you had a big section called the meadows.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and the meadows here, the way that you talk to them, the meadows are not faint of heart. They will eat you up and spit you out. So, like, what does that mean? Like, what exactly it was just the ground was rough, was that ups and down? Like, what was the meadows?
So, when you hear about 100-milers and you look
Yes.
at across the country here, especially in the U.S., you have immense climbs and descents. You know, your elevation, you're in thousands of feet of elevation.
Absolutely,
like
right.
The meadows is fairly flat. It's kind of got that. It's kind of the easy going, a little ups and downs kind
Sure.
of stuff. But it's basically grassland. Nice wide trails, very open, and it's quite beautiful if you were to walk through it and stuff. But because it is so open and because it is so like just lackadaisy like that,
Yeah.
They're not even rollers. It's just kind of like just slant ups and downs. Like you don't even really recognize it, and that's because of that, you know the whole mentality is walk the ups, run the downs, run the flats, conserve energy, stuff
Right.
like that.
Yep, absolutely.
There's moments in the meadows where you just run because it's like, yeah, this isn't so bad, but you don't realize the inclines, such as minimal as they're out there,
Yeah.
that wide openness, and then you're talking early June, so it can be super hot and muggy and stuff like that. And then when you get in an open meadow situation like that, that hot mugginess can just drain your energy level like no other. And you kind of have a bit of a distance between your aid stations for that stretch too.
Sure.
And stuff. So it's all those components. And then in the space of that year, like most years, there's at least guaranteed one thunderstorm to roll through that race.
And we did. And you most certainly did.
Yeah, this year we got 2. That year we got 2. And when it does that, it dumps. And that meadows is such a soft, grassy area where that water can pool and
Sure.
then get muddy, and you get thick black mud that just sticks to your shoes and all that stuff. If it's raining and you're running through the meadows, that's honestly almost one of the more ideal situations.
Just so it's just a little tacky.
Yeah, it's tacky. It's not sitting mud. It's just
right.
wet. You know.
I gotcha.
So yeah, it's one of the most deceiving components of that 100-mile race. It's the Meadowlands. It's not a huge it's not a huge climb. It's not high elevation. It's just Mother Nature can just really spin it and throw some curveballs throughout that meadow stretch.
I think that Mother Nature watches a lot of things, and she sees specific races going, and she's being like, decides to put her finger down on that one, and good luck with this one, guys. And so that's as you know, that's Mother Nature. That's what she does. She's kind of an evil bitch, but whatever. It's all right.
Yeah, and it just the mental capacity at that stretch too. It really can drain a person's mental game.
Very good. All right. So I looked at once you hit about the 50K point, it was about 50Ks was at about 32 miles ish. You're
Yep.
about 32 miles in. You had a Hamm's beer.
Uh-huh.
You're drinking beer in the middle of a race. Is that a go-to thing? Would your buddy Dave say that that's a good thing to put into your body at that point in time?
He always has them with him.
Oh, does he?
Yeah,
This is where like I understand like the pickles and Coke and stuff like that, but I've never heard of like drinking beer in there. But it's just kind of like you're just putting stuff in, I guess.
No, and it's not just in beer; it's Hamm's.
It's Hamm's.
Yeah.
That's your go-to right there. Always been.
I drank a Hamm's Tallboy on my Wild Duluth 100K turnaround. Josh Howie, we know him. He had it there waiting for me.
That's awesome.
I stuck her there, got me home. So yeah, I had planned to drink more, but my nutrition component kind of sort of messed with my day. So.
Oh yeah. We grab that. We talk about that here. We get there. So you get into then the next section is called the rollers. So obviously, I assume this is the big ups, big downs, and stuff like that.
Yep.
And this is where you're already, now you're past that section. You're getting close to about 50 miles. I can only assume at this point in time, 40 to 50 miles. And generally, you want to use your truck poles during that period of time, but you forgot them. And then somewhere you says, I don't know at what point I grabbed my trek pole. So you left without them, and then magically they appeared in your hands somewhere.
Yeah, one of the aid stations after because I had intended at the turnaround to collect them, and I got about halfway out from that turnaround, and I was sitting like, God, there was something I was going to do. Oh, no.
It's those things. Maybe someday I'll get those things.
Yeah, and so I don't know, with next aid station or two, I collect them. I just couldn't recollect exactly which aid station.
The brain was slowly starting to fade away at that point in time.
It was up there, just not completely with me.
That's all right. That's good. Yeah. So then around mile 45, I guess this is where it is. So around 40 miles was that. Around mile 45, you could no longer handle solid food. So this is where all of a sudden, like that nutrition started to go downhill for you. You're almost halfway there, and then just so you couldn't handle solid foods. When you're trying to consume, obviously, running 100 miles is a daunting task. And we talk about a little bit of soup and a few other things in here. We're going to get to that, but like trying to get nutrients in your body, just calories in there. Were you doing any like goo or blocks or any extra things, just trying to shove into your body because you couldn't eat anything at that point in time? Or was it just like, what were you doing the simplest way to consume calories for yourself?
Well, so this was new territory for me. And that's why which the memoir touches on how important it was to have a crew with me. But
absolutely,
goo packs for me was always the in-between stations, the sugar boost. But I couldn't do those or overdo those if I didn't have solids at aid stations to offset the salts and the sugars and keep somewhat of a balance. So when I lost the ability to take solid food, I lost the ability to do goo packs because I couldn't. Because then last thing I wanted to give myself was gut rot. On top of
right, all sugary kind of stuff. There, I got you.
No, what took place wasn't even. It was actually behind the scenes, if you want to call it that, or whatever, with Dave and them and my crew. They recognized that solid foods. I talked to them, and so they got me on salt tablets and things of that nature.
Sure.
And at some point there, I had vomited up even those, and my system rejected that stuff.
Sure.
And so one of our other ultra friends, Brenda, she's run just a boatload of ultras and very knowledgeable. She had a tablet. I can't remember what the name of the tablet was right now. I might have written it down, but the tablet she had was you can dissolve it in like a water or an energy drink or whatever. Well, it was an endurance type tablet.
So I think you had a name. Oh, was that the magical fizzy drink?
Yep, that was the magical fizzy drink.
There was many references to the magical fizzy drink in here. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what Dave did, so Brenda was there, and Dave got in touch with Brenda while I was out on trail, and he had touched base with her, and she happened to have those with her, and she told Dave to take a chunk of that, put it in water, because then I was drinking fluid, because fluid would still work for me. The tailwind that they had and everything in water, I was still no problem with liquid. But the problem is with liquids is there's only so many caloric intake you can get out of that.
Right.
whereas the solid foods and that other stuff you need to fill out your body as well. So each aid station at that point on, that magical fizzy drink they would have ready for me. And for whatever it was that was in that, and it could have been mental at that point too, that
Sure.
there's this one magical pill that I take this and everything will be fine.
You know, if it worked once, then you're like already looking forward to it the next time. Like, yes, I
Yeah.
get this back again,
Yeah.
and just to kind of revive the body just a little bit to get you back out on there.
Yeah. And so, yeah, and it was that, and then combination, I kept the tailwind going in the water, back and forth on those. I kind of took 50-50 each. I had both my chest pouches. I had one filled with one with the other,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'd take those and pretty much empty those out each trip. So,
That's fair.
That fizzy drink.
So this is where, like, if anybody listening to this has ever watched any ultra marathon, like a documentary or any of that kind of stuff, you see that you're generally towards the second half of that, like their body starts to shut down a little bit, seize up a little bit from time to time. And you have the words in here. It says, now, mind you, at this point, I became a child who could barely untie his own shoes. And I've watched on many documentaries where, yeah, they get to the point and their crew is there literally like taking the shoes and socks off, dressing them, feeding them, like taking their tops off, changing their clothes fully because they physically can't bend over to do this.
Yeah.
So that's where you were at that point in time.
Yep. That was at the 100K mark. I came in. It was dark. It was rainy. It was wet. It was shitty. Pardon my language. And one of my Trisha, another one of my runners friends who was able to make it late into the day. I remember I sat down, I reached down, I was looking because that was the point where I changed my shoes for the first time that day.
Yep.
And I was working on time, and she could recognize that like nothing was working. And she bent down, and these shoes, they've already got over 60 miles on them. They're full of mud and they're wet. And I got my socks on, and she just went down, untied them, pulled them off, pulled my socks off, and got my feet ready. I'm sitting there, the whole time I was telling her, like, no, you know what? Don't, no, that's gross. Don't. Oh.
But she's been in that position before. She knows.
Oh yeah, she didn't care.
That's where it's like having people around you that know exactly what's going on. Yeah. Like, I got you. It's going to be fine. So that's the 100K point there. You are, you're working through there. So you had to work this 38-mile round trip, and it says here on there, you're back out on the road. And I took a few steps with 1% of me that wanted to go, stopped, and the 99% of me looked back at my crew, and they all motioned for me to just go. So I shot off in the dark, misting and extremely foggy night. I ran. So like you had 1% of you that was willing to go at that point in time. You got redressed, and you're just like, I don't want to. And you wanted to turn around. 99% of you was just kind of like, please let everybody tell me to stop. Please tell everybody to stop. Your brain goes. So okay. So this is where, like, when you overcome, like, having that mental power and having that ability to like take that pain and push it down and keep moving forward through there. Is that something that, because you did that a couple of years ago, you're in your upper 30s and stuff like that, was it easy for you to put yourself in that position, or was it more or less like you had the people around you to help boost your energy and boost your personal motivation to be able to keep going at that point in time?
That was the first time in my entire running career where, had it not been for the crew I had, I would have quit.
That's absolutely fair.
So no, I that 1% that I had was literally me giving everything that I could mentally tell myself, like, hey, you got this. We want that belt buckle. We're gonna go get that belt buckle.
Hey.
But that turnaround to look at my crew was that instant of the race that basically turned over everything. Because I turned around and I was looking for that flag from someone saying, hey, you sure? Why don't you think about it for a second? Not a single one of my crew gave me that signal. They're all like, dude, go that way.
Go that way. Yeah. Generally, it's medic's job to slow you down. Are you sure you want to do this? Is this what you're going to do?
Yeah.
Someone comes along, just leave him alone. He's fine. It's going to be good. That's all right. So, obviously getting nutrition, and you were able to get a little bit, you're able to get a little bit of soup, a little bit of noodle in you to the point. They ran out of spoons. We'll get to spoons later and stuff like that, but they ran out of spoons where you had to just like use, We will. We will. But this is where like you had to just use your hands and like just kind of shove the
Oh,
noodles in your mouth and just drink the broth and stuff like that. So soup was your go-to at that point in time.
yeah.
Because I felt obviously felt kind of filled the need,
Hmm.
a fill in the belly, and was able to keep you going there for quite some time. And so that soup, I'm not a big soup man fan, but this is one of those things like when you need it, there it is the most
Yeah.
amazing thing in the
Yeah.
world.
When it works, just go with it.
Absolutely. So you ran into a friend of yours or a woman you know, Annette. Okay.
Yeah.
And at this time that you ran into her, she was running in jeans because she only had running shorts and she didn't want to wear them when it was chilly outside. So she was running her 100-miler, this portion of it, in jeans.
Yeah. She was one of my pacers, and she paced me in jeans. Yep.
Is that a thing? Is that do people do that? Or was that just kind of like a faux pas that by her, just like, I screwed up, I need to wear jeans?
So Annette is comes from my world of running. I've known her since college. She ran for UW Oshkosh.
Okay.
She is one of the most humble runners I've ever known in my entire life. She will beat the pants off anyone, but she will be so humble about it, and she will look at you like, ah, God, that wasn't my best.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you serious? Because you beat everyone else.
You're kind
So,
of crushing in the world right now. But
so
hey,
she's just that kind of a person, that kind of a runner, where it's just we get into that headspace, and it's just like it's go time. So let's just go do that.
sure.
So,
So we're getting close to the end there. Like I said, we brought up that magical fizzy drink that just keeps coming at you every time that you go, every time you have a pit stop there, that's sitting there waiting for you. And you end up at this one place where you had to go down some hills and you're with Clint there and you had to hold, he looked at you, he says, hey, maybe we should hold hands going down this. And it says on here, best idea ever. Because obviously, you're running down there like, if we're going to fall, we're going to fall together. We're just going to make this happen for sure. And he wanted your best interest. That's what he was looking out for. Like, we're going to get you down here safe. We're going to hold hands. We're going to make sure that this, because obviously it was a very slippery, you're running through a whole bunch of rain, torrential thunderstorms, mud. It's slick, all those things. You have zero traction on your shoes. So, and whatever you want to, that's fantastic. I mean, that's one of those things. You do what you need to do to get through.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So there were some comments said to you or around you that you recalled hearing. That one was, is he okay? It looks like he's going to vomit. And fortunately, you only vomited once the whole time.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a win. I would say that's pretty good.
Yeah. There was still daylight when that happened.
Another one was, hey, you want a shot of Fireball? And you politely declined. Like, that sounds like immediate vomiting at that point in time. I get it, but this is, are you nuts? And then one was great. It's like, you have a great smile. So it was, who was it in here? It was somebody that was trying to help you out. It was a medic or something like that she was trying to help you out. And no, you're like, I'm good. I'll be fine. You're like, well, you have a nice smile.
Yeah. Checking it. Yeah.
Hey, warm little things. Just warm little things to kind of get you through that day, right? That's all it is. Warm little things. All right. So we talked about as we talked about the soup and stuff like that. You come back over, you're getting close to the end of everything there. And you end up at, let's see here, if I get this right here. Your buddy Clint came up to you, walks over to you, they gave you a spoon, then walked over and handed you a spoon. And handing you a spoon, he says, they always had spoons. And you can't blame him. It was no spoon caper at all. He was on your crew pacing you, and he just needed some good entertainment. So he's just fucking with you the whole time, just kind of like, hey, there's no spoons. Figure it out. That's a good friend right there. That was hilarious. I mean, he sees you struggling, and he's still like, now he doesn't get a spoon. We're gonna watch him. He's gonna watch him just baby sip this thing all the way through.
Well, yeah, I had 7 miles left at that point, and that's when he broke it down to me, and I just laughed.
How could you not? That's awesome. Yeah. That is, kudos to him right there. So he said 7 miles to go. You had some hams waiting for you. You get towards the end, and you're, what is it, a mile and a half out, and your team jumps on the race for you. And they run you in.
Yep.
But this is where, this is that last moment. Like, you all of a sudden, you're a mile, you got a mile left. you have this surge of energy that comes in. You're like, you feel your stride again, and you're like, all right, I'm going to finish this strong.
Mm-hmm.
That last mile, 1 through 100 on there, was that 100th mile? Was that like the best mile of it all?
I would say it was the best mile of it all,
There
but
you
it
go.
felt pretty awesome
Pretty good at
at
that
that
point in
point.
time.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things. I'm happy you said that, purely because, I mean, you did, even though there was a lack of training, all this, once you hit that last mile, all the training, everything you did is done.
Yep.
I would hope that somewhere, like, your best miles were somewhere in the middle, where the struggle is, because that's where you grow. You grow through that struggle. You grow through that fight and all that kind of stuff. So you finish the race. You got your hams, finished 28 hours, 38 minutes and 4 seconds. You had 30 hours to finish it. So you finished it with an hour and 20 minutes to spare
Yep.
through all of that. And at the end of the day, it was just finishing, right?
Yeah.
That's all you wanted to do.
Yep.
How long?
Go ahead.
No, how long did you go just reliving that day, or the whole race, day after day after day, just kind of like self-reflection on different things that went with that day?
Well, what surprised me the most is by Wednesday that week, I was ready to run again, which blew my mind. It was Sunday morning, so Monday I was a couch potato.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I ate so much food. I just ate and I just laid.
Sure. Yes. All day long.
Tuesday I was chill. I kind of was up and about a little bit or whatever. But I woke up Wednesday morning and it just blew my mind. I literally could have gone out and went and just ran Wednesday.
Now, if you would have done that, what would have Jamie said?
Well, among all the other words she's already called me, probably the same ones that repeat.
And she should have. That's exactly it. Did you at least give yourself a week?
Oh yeah, I gave myself a good week or two before I really started to get active.
I mean, a solid week at least. Something just to kind of make sure that you have let the muscles recover. Plain and simple.
Yeah,
Maybe a
yeah,
few walks with the kids, go in the yard, run around a little bit with everybody, maybe a little soccer, whatever that is.
yeah.
That's good. So now, now, is that the only ultra you've done? I mean, okay, you did the Wild Duluth.
Yep.
You did and that was 100. Was that 100K?
100K.
That was 100K.
That was the October the year before.
In 18.
Yep, in 18. Yep, in 18.
So then you did that one. Were you able to do any other ones, like any 50 milers or any of that kind of stuff? Just kind of playing with some stuff.
No 50 milers. I did a couple 50Ks before the
Okay.
100K. But then I wanted talking with Josh Howie about the Wild Duluth series up there.
Sure.
I wanted the 100 miler. I was already set for 2019. That after we ran the relay team in 2018, I went with my team.
Yes.
Clint was on that team. Trisha was on that team, and Net. So the bulk of my crew, and then Dave. We were all the 4-person team, and Annette and Trish were kind of like, I don't know about next year. And Clint's like, whatever, I'll do whatever. And I told him, like, I think I'll do the 100. And Clint's like, I'll crew for you and stuff. So I already had it set that the 100-mile 2019 kettle was going to be my race.
Okay.
So I picked the 100K, Wild Duluth 100K, because that would be as close to 100 miles without doing 100 miles. And I knew it would be in tough terrain with elevation to really, as bad as the 100K went with my knee situation, it did exactly what I wanted it to do. Is I wanted to break myself.
Sure.
And know where I could break myself, because I've never broken myself before to that level, and I knew I needed to do that either physically or mentally if I had any shot at finishing 100 miles. So that Wild Duluth 100K, which I'm going to go back to this year, it didn't work out, but I'm going to go back, and I do have a chip on my shoulder about that one.
Sure.
But that one was by design, purposely to ultimately break something. So I knew where the weak stuff was and where I needed to make sure that I had everything, working as smoothly as it could be. So.
I mean, that's a fantastic plan. I mean, you have to have little goals to be able to work for us, and you got to chip at them away just to kind of get them going there. Have you ever had any surgeries or anything like that?
No. Zero.
No. God, you're lucky, dude. That's good for you. I
Dude,
mean, yeah. So the injuries, you blew out your knee a little bit, kind of blew up on you, but it obviously kind of healed up on you and everything. And
yeah,
that's kudos to you. So that's where like you're doing something right. It means
yeah.
you're doing something right. So keep on going there. Are you trained? I mean, uh, obviously with COVID and all this other kind of stuff, there's really no like train races set, at least around here. Are you training for anything right now? Or are you just kind of trying to keep just running for fun more than anything else right now?
No, I went into this year. So after the 100 mile, the biggest self reflection I had of that, on top of my lackadaisy training approach towards it, was I wanted to get better at the shorter ultras to better
Mm,
prepare for the 100 milers.
sure.
Because my goal is I want to do 200 milers in a single season, and then turn that into eventually my goal is to do a 200 miler. Is my
Sure.
long goal. So this year I actually had 6 races on the schedule, ranging from 50Ks and 50 milers, leading up to the Wild Goose 100K to finish
I
off the
got you.
season. COVID pretty much did a number on all those. I did my April 50 miler virtual, attempted that one. I made 31 miles before I had knee issues. And so I submitted that to the race director. I got the marathon buckle out of the deal because I did finish the marathon component, but I didn't make the 50 miles. So
Sure.
it's funny to think that's my first DNF, which is virtual. So that's kind of crazy.
You know, I mean, you, what do you do? It's all
But
good.
yeah, and then once everything got shut down after that, I pretty much turned to family, and we got 9 acres here of a lot of gardening and property things, that projects I wanted to get started on. So this year's pretty much zero training, no miles kind of season at this
That's
point.
fair.
But right now, mentally, I'm looking at this fall winter time going into, let's get things going, start just putting on some miles just for fun, kind of see
Sure.
where it goes, and just kind of keep myself active, especially when this upcoming part of the year gets, especially around here, daunting and kind of closed off from the world more than normal. So, and then, look at the schedule, see how things, spin out for next year.
With a say, you know what? I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. I want to do more running this year. I've started researching like the 1,000 Mile Club and all that other kind of stuff. Like, is that something that I want to dive into,
Mm-hmm.
and all that kind of stuff? And so, I know Josh keeps begging me about doing an ultra. So I'm not sure where my brain's gonna go. We'll see how much he harasses me with all that kind of stuff because
Yeah, we can all do it.
it
We'll
would be
pick
a
an
lot of
easy one.
fun. Yeah, let's find an easy ultra. That sounds great. Perfect. All right, my friend. That's all the time I got for you, my man. I
All right.
appreciate that. We've been on almost an hour here, and
Thanks. Okay.
it's absolutely fantastic. So
Awesome.
it was absolutely great seeing you, chatting with you.
Yeah.
We will do this again, most certainly. You take care of yourself. Don't hang up quite
Sure.
yet, but
Yeah. No, it was
everyone
great. It
else,
was great talking with you. And yeah, anytime,
you got it.
bring everything I can to the table.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. Good talking with you.